Alright. Hey, Pop Eric.
Hello, Gordon.
Before we start, can you just say your full name?
Eric Rhodes Rushlow.
Alright, there we go. Alright. I'm gonna ask you some questions, and if you don't know or like it's too specific, just tell me, just so I can ask another one. Alright, so the first one I was gonna ask was, do you know what were the technical issues that led to the actual disaster?
I believe it was the O-rings that they a cheaper bidder, a lower bidder, and then that caused the leak of the first booster rockets, and then it became a catastrophic failure after that, which it was quite visible. There was something very wrong when we were watching from the water we were in.
You could kind of tell right away as soon as it took off.
Oh, it wasn't right because it separated away when it was so many different pieces. We knew it was catastrophic.
That's
there was
sad.
No survivor. We knew that.
Okay. Was the decision to launch it in cold weather, do you think that contributed to it at all?
I am not in any way an aeronautical engineer. I believe that the people at NASA know what they're doing. I don't know. I don't really have a clear answer on that. They know what they're doing. So if they decided to launch, then they'll launch. But since then, I know they won't launch at that temperature.
Oh yeah, I'm sure not anymore. Okay. Do you know of any changes, like protocol, that were implemented from NASA after the entire thing happened?
Yeah, well, that particular one we just discussed, they no longer will launch at that temperature. Not even Elon Musk will not. He won't. No one will launch any type of spacecraft under a certain temperature point. They just won't. They'll wait.
What was the temperature? Was it cold out?
Yes, it was. It was cold for Florida. I'll say that.
Where did it actually fly out of?
It flew out of Cape Canaveral.
Okay. What was your main job involving the Challenger spaceflight disaster?
I was on what we call a plane guard. The ship I was on, USS Sellers DDG-11. And our main objective was to observe the launch, and God forbid anything happened, we were there for a recovery vessel, which catastrophic things did happen, obviously. And there were many ships out there and helicopter, all kinds of air support, picking up what pieces they could pick up.
And there wasn't any survivors, correct?
None.
Were any of the bodies ever recovered?
I believe one helmet was. Obviously what was in the helmet. But other than that, I don't think anybody's made it back through the atmosphere or even through the explosion itself, because it was a incredible explosion, and it was continuous. You could tell that not just one part of the craft was blown. It was, the booster rockets and the main rocket.
So sad.
It is.
So you said there were like a lot of people were they trying to help you guys out? Everybody that was on boats and
ships. I wouldn't say that they were helping us out. We were all operating as one. So
yeah,
there was a group effort. Are you still there?
yes, sir.
Okay, I thought I heard a beep.
No. Do you remember how many people were a part of the crew that came off of your ship?
365.
That's a lot of people. So did you guys, like when you first started the recovery, when it had blown up, did you like take like little dinghy boats out in like groups? Or
Well, we had to wait for what pieces we saw come back to the earth. And then what did fall in the ocean, of course, we vectored over to it. And other pieces, it's covered a lot of area.
yeah, how far did you guys end up going offshore? Were you like real far out?
Oh yeah, we were I would say we were probably 200 miles offshore.
Jeez. Okay. Okay. Did anybody that you had spoke to have any direct connections with anybody that was on the space shuttle, or?
No, because when it came back into the atmosphere, it was in Louisiana, and it did kill all 7 people on board.
Yeah, and one of them was a teacher, correct?
That's correct.
Were there any political implications or like announcements after the disaster happened?
I know because I was at sea. You remember they were saying there was something wrong with the left wing of the craft from debris or something, and also one of the external tanks was the main cause of everything that happened.
Yeah, because I mean, when I had read up, I seen a little bit about how it had talked about the issues with the O-rings, and some people were skeptical to even let it launch. So, I mean, I kind of don't have any other questions, but I mean, if there's anything that you would like to say about it, or any information that you think is interesting.
I just know that it shocked the world. It really did. And then what was really tough was the majority of it, that when it came back to Earth, landed in Louisiana and Texas.
Yeah.
So with that, go ahead.
I was just saying that had to be crazy.
Yeah. With that being said, I think it's much because NASA also has a place in Texas, and I think that's where it launched from. I'm not sure whether it launched from Cape Canaveral or I think it was Texas, because we were over in the Caribbean, which would be off the tip of Florida. We were on the other side of Cuba, and we still saw it. You could see it. It was just as plain as it could be.
Was it real loud when it took off?
It wasn't that we could hear it because it was so far away.
Yeah.
But there was no doubt when we looked up and we were looking on the ship. You were called Big Eyes, and they're 100 times stronger than a pair of binoculars. And you have one on the port side, one on the starboard side, and the signalman, which is what I was at the time, we were, taking turns looking up through the Big Eyes, watching the launch, and then we saw it go way up in the skies, and it began to just come apart. explode and roll and fire. There was no doubt. You knew no one was going to survive it. Because the thing that on the Apollo mission, they had, if you ever look at the capsule, it's like a cage, right? And then and above that were rocket boosters. And if there was ever an issue with the lower part of the stages, that rocket booster would ignite and then carry the capsule to a safe spot. Up in the air, then the parachutes would come out, then it would drift back down to the earth. That's not the case with the space shuttle. There was no safety rocket system. So if anything started to go catastrophic, you're in for the ride. And that's exactly what happened with the space shuttle concept.
Yeah.
There were accusations, of course, because, humans want to find fault. But other than, the tips of the O-rings not seating the way they should have, and there was some damage on the left wing from re-entry from her previous flight, Columbia. It was a combination of those two things that I believe caused the catastrophic failure. But again, I'm not an aeronautical engineer. I based that off of the information I read after the accident.
Right.
I just know it rocked the world because, here we had a teacher for the first time going up. Girls. It's one thing for men, and I don't mean to sound like a chauvinist. It's one thing for men to take themselves into harm's way. But when God's greatest creation, a woman, is harmed, that, for the most part, that really carries a heavy burden in American souls. It just does. We don't like to see women and children hurt. We don't.
And I'm sure, especially with times being a little different, that was probably a little bit more of a well-renowned thing.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago. We were still not as out there as we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole world. I know that there were many world leaders that called right away to support and offer condolences, to do what they could.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the people that got on that space shuttle, it was all 7 of them, were well aware of the dangers. I mean, you're strapping yourself to a rocket that has millions and millions of pounds of thrust. And the fuel that you're using is basically a controlled explosion.
Yeah.
It's all, if you've ever looked at the space shuttle, the 2 booster rockets that she used to ride on, plus herself, that's all fuel in there. And it's enough fuel to get it to the right atmosphere, to the right height, right elevation, then they drop off. And by that time, the shuttle is in the atmosphere, needing less thrust, but still going towards whatever its objective is. They usually would rendezvous with the space station or other satellites, doing repairs. I mean, it's still an active thing, even now. Now more than then, we have different nations coming to the space station. And it's very, very advanced now. And because of the unfortunate sacrifices that, Apollo 13 and different accidents we've had in our own space ventures throughout time, it hasn't stopped us. The only time it was stopped was during the Obama administration, when he just shut down NASA for whatever reason.
How long was it shut down for?
For 8 years by Barack Hussein Obama.
I didn't know they were shut down under him the entire time.
Yeah. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm sure you're not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Pop, I think I have everything I need. Thank you very much.
Yep.